Seems not a day goes past without somebody bringing out a new action cam, from the ubiquitous GoPro to the cheap Chinese knockoffs. This is Sony's entry. It's basically a little video recorder with a fisheye lens, and it's put into a ruggedized casing. In this case, this one comes off, and this allows you to film yourself while you throw yourself down a mountain or throw yourself into the sea. But I think every photographer should have one of these little things because they offer an awful lot to your creative toolbox. So here we see the side of the camera, and it tells us it's got an Exmor-R sensor, which is 11.9 megapixels, and it has steady shot built inside. It's not an optical stabilization, which would be best. It's all software done, but still it's got some form of stabilization, and this is what made me purchase this camera over the ubiquitous GoPro models. If we turn to look at the back here, and the back is dominated by this button. It's got a hold switch around it, which means that you can't accidentally knock it on and off when you don't want to. This is your recording button. You just press it, and at the top here is a little red tally light which tells you that you are recording. On the other side of the camera you have an LCD screen that gives you the functions pertaining to your mode you're in. The little sign says it's got Wi-Fi enabled, which we'll get to later, and you've got a couple of buttons that enable you to cycle through the menu functions. On the front you've got an optical port here. It's not glass, unfortunately, so it is subject to a lot of optical aberration, and you've got two filter meshes here that allow some sound to reach the microphones, and at the bottom you'll see a standard tripod bush, which is great because it means you can attach it to virtually anything. If I take the camera out of its protective case just by undoing this catch, the first thing that becomes apparent is that out of the camera it won't stand up. Its curved base means that it has always got to be put in some kind of case, housing or cage to be used. You can't just stand this up. Underneath, in the hatch here, there's a standard microphone input, a proprietary in-out socket, which allows you to use the camera with an LCD screen, which we'll talk about in a minute, an HDMI out port, and a USB port as well. The back of the camera just slides open like so. You have a small battery, Sony battery. This battery thankfully is standard across a lot of Sony cameras now, so they're fairly easy to get, and there are plenty of clone batteries as well, so you're not stuck to using the Sony one. Just here is the media slot. The camera takes both Sony's proprietary memory stick, micro memory stick, and micro SD. Because it's a multi-function slot, it is rather picky with how you line the card up, and so when you put the card in, it always pays to check the screen to make sure you've got a time reading or a number of pictures left. Otherwise the card isn't put in properly if that doesn't show. So you've got movie mode, photo mode, involumeter mode, and that's about it for the basic functions. I won't go in through all the spec. These are available on the Sony website. The lens is a Carl Zeiss Tessar 2.8. It's about 170 degree in angle, which is a fisheye, and you'll be able to see that from the images I put up later. When you use the steady shot mode, it crops into that fisheye mode to allow the steady shot function to work, so the effect is not so pronounced. This is the camera in its waterproof housing, and here I'm testing how the built-in microphones pick up audio while in the casing. And as I just talk, you should be able to hear that it sounds quite muffled. This is what the native built-in microphones sound like without using anything. The only way to use the little Sony ActionCam with an external microphone is to mount it in this cage, which allows access to the ports underneath. And then you can plug in any microphone that has a 3.5mm jack. And this is what the audio sounds like using a lavalier mic plugged into the jack underneath. When you're needing optical quality from the camera, it's best to avoid using it in the protective case. The case doesn't have a glass port on it, it only has a plastic one, and this means that the lens is then subject to all sorts of spherical aberration, chroma and other optical nasties. Outside of the case, the lens on the camera is capable of delivering very good results, and so this is how I prefer to use it set up. And again, this setup gives me an LCD screen with which to compose on, which makes life a little bit easier. But as I've said before, you cannot access the video mic inputs underneath the camera. Here we're walking down Elizabeth Street Mall in Hobart, and as you can see that the stabilization feature is working quite well. This is entirely handheld, and it seems to cope with this sort of gentle movement very well. Now as we move into the shopping mall here, you can see that the meter of the camera handles the change from bright sunlight to shade and then onto artificial lighting very well indeed, and you don't get any colour casts or sudden block-ups in the shadows or burn out of the highlights. There's no doubt about it that most people who buy these cameras buy them to record activities that they do, such as mountain biking, cycling, motorbiking, motocross, skateboarding. So here I'm setting up my ActionCam on my handlebars of my bike, and the observant of you will notice that the case is actually mounted upside down in this configuration to a mounting system based on the GoPro one. I using the GoPro 3-prong mounting kit basically because Sony's own mounts are few and far between, and what there are very hard to find in shops. So with the GoPro type ones, you can get them just about anywhere, and in fact these are a knockoff. They're not by GoPro themselves, they're made by a company called After the Fact, or ATF, and they're available online at reasonable prices, but I'm sure there are lots of others. So as I said earlier, the mount is upside down. That's not a problem because in the camera menu I can flip the camera footage, so when I put it into the camera case there, it will be the right way up. It is just a case of undoing the clip, sliding the camera in. It's very important, I can't help but stress this, is to keep your fingers away from the lens. You get fingerprints or smudges over the lens at this stage, the footage looks awful. Clip it all home and make sure that the lens port there is also clean. Okay, we'll take this out for a spin and see what we get. Cycling down the road, you can hear there's a lot of chatter and vibration, road buzz. The microphones pick that up, but overall it renders the motion quite smoothly and pleasantly. Not a bad performance. The time-lapse feature is, for me, the most exciting thing of this camera. I love playing with it, and as you can see, the results are again quite good. With regards to still photography, yes, there is barrel distortion like crazy. There is some chromatic aberration present, but that's easily fixed in Lightroom with just a couple of clicks. But overall, considering that the camera has no control over settings such as ISO or white balance or shutter speed or anything like that, it does a fantastic job.